9,500 miles in 4 days. Woo! Do you want to know what we've learned over 9,500 miles in 4 days? We have learned that when you arrive in Anchorage, Alaska, you want Shannon Moore from the Mudflats blog and Tank, Levi Johnston's bodyguard, to show you the Anchorage ropes immediately. And when you arrive in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas ropes get shown to you by one of the best political reporters in this country. The totally irreplaceable, bottomless pit of political knowledge, that is John Ralston of the Las Vegas Sun.
Hi, Rachel.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I have to warn you that I'm, even though I'm never the sharpest tool in the shed, slightly duller than usual because of this sleep deprivation, so you're going to have to be really emphatic.
Las Vegas is a lot more exciting than Alaska. I promise. I promise.
All right. Excellent.
I've never driven a van before, so this could be an adventure.
What do you usually drive?
Land Rover, so it's not that far off.
I was just going to say, you don't strike me as like an MG guy.
I don't? Uh-oh.
We are less than a week out. The race is certainly in top gear, but you said that it's felt like it's in top gear for months.
Yeah, and now you're just seeing the intensity ratchet up to, I think, a level that nobody could have anticipated. But with everything that you see in the last minute of a campaign from both sides. And you do see some unusual things, too, Rachel. I mean, Harry Reid is out in public every day, which nobody expected because he's not that good in public. I think if Harry Reid wins the race, that the key part of the whole race, Rachel, would have been the 6 weeks after the primary when they ran these relentless "she's crazy" ads. And she went from an 8 to 11-point lead to being dead even in the polls, and her negatives started going up. The interesting thing is that most of the really crazy stuff she said came after that, talking about that there may be domestic enemies on Capitol Hill. And what I still think, frankly, is the most frightening thing she said, which is in a rural town called Mesquite, which, by the way, ironically, is where Sue Loudon made her chicken comments. It's the locus of everything in the
Mesquite Triangle. Don't go there.
Exactly. Is where she's actually said to a group when talking about the Muslim terrorist situation in the United States that there are two communities that have Sharia law. Which is, the Reid people think, oh, this is the dog whistle to the Muslims are coming, the Muslims are coming. But I just think this is emblematic of Sharon Angle. She just says things without thinking.
Yeah.
And it's very careless but very dangerous rhetoric that's incendiary, whether it's Second Amendment remedies or domestic enemies or this thing that there's Sharia law in this country. And
when confronted about that, her explanation was, oh, I thought I'd heard that once.
I read that somewhere.
Yeah.
I read that somewhere. Imagine if people just said that we're running for office things they read somewhere. I mean, it's just, but it's the lack of it's uncritical thinking. She can't get below the surface on anything once she's asked about it, which, of course, is why she's not doing many interviews. And then there are some people who think she topped that a couple weeks ago when she was talking to a group of Hispanic students at a local high school and said all manner of crazy stuff. Some of you look Asian to me. But I really thought the more amazing thing was she seemed to be unsure what are those images she's using in these very borderline, at best, racist illegal immigration spots, whether or not those are Latinos or not. She seemed not to be quite sure of that, and then said, well, the real problem is the terrorists coming across the Canadian border.
Yeah.
Which is, as I said in a column I wrote recently, maybe I overstated this, in an ordinary election, that's a disqualifier to hold public office, right?
Yeah.
To say something, but not this year.
I mean, trying to understand, this race is so important. It's got so much money. It's got so much attention on it. It's the Senate Majority Leader. Sharon Angle's amazing. But in trying to figure out how this works, it seems like we really have to understand the relative strength of the parties in this state. The Democratic Party, even though this isn't a Democratic year, is strong in this state, has a good turnout effort, has good infrastructure. The Republican Party in this state is not very together. And is Ensign part of the reason why his scandals and everything?
One of the reasons the party doesn't have any money is because of John Ensign. I mean, right before this scandal happened in June of 2009, he was a rainmaker for the party. I mean, he was a guy who was about to go to Iowa. He was being talked about as a presidential candidate. He could go all across the country and raise money. And he was known as a big fundraiser for the party. That all ended on June 16th of 2009. And so then you have a party with a scandalized senator, scandalized governor, the two highest elected officials, and nobody else to raise the party any money. They can't get any money.
Why hasn't he disappeared? Why has he held on this long?
Because he's delusional. Because he thinks he can win re-election. He's actually talking to people about running for re-election. He cannot raise any money. His PAC has no money. He hasn't been able to raise any personal money. He spent a lot of money on a legal defense fund, and he has now started spending money on some of these former staffers. But he still thinks, because he goes to these base events that don't get a lot of coverage, and people still love him.
So he thinks that people still love him broadly, even though he's just in that bubble.
And I think it is a bubble that's going to burst. I think he will have a primary if he does decide to run for re-election. But, of course, anything could happen. It's a long ways away, as you know. He could get indicted. He could finally see the light and decide not to run. If by some chance Sharon Angle loses to Harry Reid, she's the Energizer Bunny of Nevada politics. She's just going to keep running and running and running. And she will see, I got $14 million from across the country in the third quarter. I can raise money. I can beat John Ensign in the primary.
So she primary John Ensign.
I would not be surprised if she were to lose, that she would do that.
And then we could come back.
And then we can come back and do this Angle story all over again.
John, it is absolutely invaluable to have you to show us around. But I got to say, in this most spectacular of Senate races, the fact that there's somebody here like you who's so good at explaining this stuff is an asset to the entire country. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for saying that.
Really appreciate it, John.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right.
The insights, as well as the excellent first time ever driving a van acumen of political reporter John Ralston, as we arrived here today to try to figure out what is going to happen in the highest profile race in the country, which is the Senate race here in Nevada. John Ralston, also one of the few lucky reporters who have been actually allowed to interview Sharon Angle, something we tried very, very hard to do today. Also, there was some Second Amendment remedies investigation that's coming up ahead.